check out Times Square from above and then on the ground. Of course, Addison had already scoped out her primary stops, and no doubt the M&M and Disney stores would soon be getting some of Michael's hard-earned cash. After setting the pizzas on a dresser, Michael tossed Teddy onto the bed Addison had claimed. The cot Bryce would occupy for the 5 nights remained folded up in a corner of the room. The cot wasn't exactly necessary, considering his son could sleep perfectly well in a sleeping bag on the floor. Michael knew the kids would be comfortable here, but he worried how Natalie would fare. She couldn't sleep at home, and it had been a shock to him when she suggested they take a family trip to New York during the kids' April vacation.
"Are you sure?"
he said in response.
"What are you going to do if you can't fall asleep? Wander the hotel halls like Marley's ghost?"
"I'll be fine. It'll be good for us," Natalie assured him. He saw the outline of sadness in her tight smile and in her eyes, which were the color of the dark ocean. She was already anticipating the difficulty, but clearly she wanted to do it, so he made the reservation. "Good for us," Natalie had said. Goodness knows they could have used some quality time together. It was something the marriage counselor had suggested. The truth was that he'd been planning to approach Nat about a getaway, just the 2 of them, leaving the kids with her parents for a stretch. More than family time, they needed time to reconnect, or at least hit the reset button on their marriage. The past few months had been, in a word, eventful. But Natalie had insisted on getting away with the kids as well, so family time it would be. It took some fiddling, but Michael finally managed to get the room lights on. No small feat given how modern hotels eschewed the old-fashioned switch for touch technology. Honestly, he was surprised everyone wasn't in the room eagerly awaiting his return, ready to pounce on the food. He checked his phone for a text from Natalie, letting him know where they'd gone. Nothing. He checked the watch he wore obsessively, a throwback, Natalie called it. The citizen timepiece with its thick leather band, darkened at the edges, couldn't send and receive messages, but it did tell him the hour was getting late. They'd arrived in New York utterly famished after a 4.5-hour car ride from their home in Lexington, Massachusetts. Michael had suggested going out to eat, but Natalie was too tired, no surprise there, and wanted takeout from a nearby pizza place she'd found on Yelp that had fantastic reviews. But given the dinner rush hour, delivery would take too long, so Michael was dispatched for pickup.
"Where is everyone?"
he said to the empty room, plopping himself down onto the bed he'd soon be sharing with his wife. He sent her a text.
"Food is here. Come and get it."
Wherever they were, he imagined the kids had to be really enjoying themselves to delay dinner for even a minute. A savory whiff of sauce and cheese tickled Michael's nose. He contemplated downing a slice, but managed restraint. He was a big believer in eating together as a family and always made it a point to get home from his job at Fidelity in time for dinner. They'd only recently begun a new dinner-time tradition called 3 Things, a conversation starter game that Natalie got off the internet. They'd take turns going around the table, each sharing one thing that had gone well that day, one thing they were grateful for, and one thing they'd have done differently. 3 things. It wasn't easy getting the conversation going. Typically, the kids launched half-hearted protests, but in the end, Michael always felt the game brought him closer to the people who were closest to him. He recalled Natalie's 3 things from the night before. They'd struck him as somewhat odd, just as this whole experience of returning to an empty hotel room felt odd. Natalie had said, "Today I got us all packed and ready to go. I'm grateful for the truth. I wish I'd done this sooner." He had meant to ask his wife for clarification. What was it she wished she'd done sooner? Pack? And what truth was she grateful for? But then Bryce spilled his glass of milk, and those questions got lost in the aftermath. Now, thoughts of that game, specifically Natalie's reference to her packing prowess, brought Michael's attention to just how clean the room was. He took in that vanilla and cedar smell again. It was as if they'd not yet arrived. Normally, there'd be clothes strewn about, the TV blaring, and suitcases left open on the floor. But not this time. This time, there was not an item in sight, as if Natalie had prepared them for a military-type room inspection.